It's Christine Wilson and Saphira Galoob, and you'll thank us later. Tune in every week and hang out with us because we're a lot of fun.
And no topics off the record, we decided. We are open to talking about everything together with a bit of a sense of humor, a lot of self-forgiveness, a lot of grace, and always being wiser on the other end. Bring it on, girls and boys.
You know what? You'll thank me later that I'm telling you about this. You'll thank me. They're going to hate us, Saphira. It's going to be nuts. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you. Well, I'm kind of bittersweet on the fact that it's raining every single day. I know it's going to make my yard better, and it's cool still. So that's the sweet part, that it's not gotten too hot. But I definitely
I'm over it. It's so great.
I know it's gray and a little cold. And
okay, it's cold today, but I have to show you something really quickly. I told you I never wore shorts for 20 years.
mm-hmm.
And the other day I went to put something on and I was like, wow, this was when it was still hot before it got cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I really need, I don't know, a pair of shorts to put on with this, and jeans is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to spend a lot of money on shorts. So I ran to Target, and I went to the big Target, not the little one. So there'd be lots of choices. And let me just show you really quickly. One of my 3 things I bought. Let me see. I'm wearing it today, even though it's cold.
Oh, how cute is
But they're
that?
short.
They're short with a little skirt thing in front.
Isn't that cute little
Cute?
skirt?
Yep.
And I'm wearing it with a winter sweater because
Yeah.
it's too cold for shorts or a skirt today. But I was so excited.
Yeah.
1, that I fit my ass into it, and 2, that I'm wearing shorts.
Oh, it's fantastic. And I will tell you, that should be the shorts of the season. So stick that link on there and let people go to Target and fill their closet with that cute little outfit.
I got another one that's denim, and it zips straight up the front. And I came out, I said to the boys, and it looks like a skirt all the way around. The front and the back looks like a skirt, but it does have shorts underneath, and it's blue denim. And I said to my boys, am I too old to wear this? And they go, probably, but you look cute. Wear it anyway, Mom.
Oh,
love. That's the best answer. I love it.
Love it.
So, yeah. So, as I'm aging as a parent, Saphira, we thought today we would talk about this. It's so funny. I remember hearing when I was a kid, my mom talking about being the sandwich generation and whatever. And I don't think I realized how incredibly impactful it is on people at this time in our lives when you're dealing with teenagers and college age children and your aging parents. And it's a lot on both sides. It's really, really a lot. And I've been through a lot this last year with my parents, and I know so many of my friends that have, and obviously we've talked about it, raising teenagers. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about aging parents and from your perspective, and also what I've gone through this year.
No, I think it's such an important conversation because, we've talked a little bit about, having adult children and rearing children, and we probably should spend some more time on adult. I've got more experience in it than you do, but I do think we are adult children, right? We are raising what we hope to have adult children.
Yes,
our adult children. But for certain, as our parents age, and both of I actually don't know how old parents-wise, if mine are the same age as yours.
my parents were born in 1948.
Okay, so my parents are a little bit older, and my mother listens to this podcast, so I have to make sure I say everything precisely. Otherwise, she calls and tells me that I have been misleading.
Yes,
I have been fibbing. But I will just tell you, it is a combination of artistic license, and frankly, I just don't freaking remember. Well, my parents are both in their 80s. I will just say that. My dad is still working full time. My mother is such a whippersnapper. She just went to Spain by herself with a girlfriend.
I love that.
Yeah, and went to the Firo, which is a huge festival. And she's a rock star. And so
Did she dress up?
She did not dress up. No, she did not dress up. I think she ended up with some of the, they have.
Yeah, to look like the Moors, right? They darken their skin.
Frankly, it would not go over well in the U.S.
Yeah, it's not politically correct.
Exactly. But my point is that even though they are still very active, they are definitely at a different phase in terms of their delicateness. I think they're a different phase. And, what I want to make sure of, and this is what I want to talk to you about today, is in the same way in the last episode, we were speaking about how important it is to have transparent and candid conversations with our children about things that are real.
Yeah.
I think it is equally important that we do that with our parents. And I can tell you with my parents, My parents, I don't think they would actually initiate these difficult conversations. They definitely don't initiate conversations about money, for sure.
Yeah.
Gio's mother, my husband's mother, talks about money. My parents would never talk about money if I didn't bring it up. And we really haven't talked about their care plans. But I think it is a disservice to the that we love, and it's a disservice to us because it's once things go sideways or get really difficult, it is much harder to have that conversation then, and you're being reactive. So I really want to talk about how we one, if we're giving advice to folks based on experience, we're not shitting on folks. We're saying we have experience in, and I
Yeah.
think you have more experience in this than I do. But what I want to do is model for our listeners what having those conversations look like and sound like and feel like. So, what
Yeah.
has to do since you've actually been through it with more specificity in the past year?
Well, I was really so one, my mom was a physical therapist who worked with geriatric patients, and most of them were in home. So she, in her career, encountered just about every scenario. Like a parent came to visit their child for Christmas and fell and couldn't leave. They didn't have enough money and they, had to live with the children or any number of situations that a lot of times were very reactive and not planned. And there was this movement. There was a really smart brokerage house when long-term care insurance became very popular in the early 2000s that went after physical therapists to become their brokers and to sell long-term care insurance because it was so logical that my mom could walk into a house and say to people, this is what you're facing in later years if you don't plan. And so my mom had a whole second career selling long-term care insurance and was extremely successful. Shout out, she took me to Italy on one of her rewards trips to Lake Como. It was fabulous. But that really made my mom very informed, which is great. When my grandparents were aging and really needed to get additional care, my grandfather physically needed help, but mentally was sharp as a tack. My grandmother had dementia, but was physically, she could have taught an aerobics class. So they were able to hide it for a long time because between the two of them, they could kind of like get around. My grandfather could say, pick that item for the grocery cart
Right.
because it makes sense. And my grandmother could push the cart. Um, but when it came time, they were of that generation that was really reluctant, to go into a facility or any of that. And luckily, my mom and I learned from that making the plans for yourself is a lot better than someone else making the plans for you when you no longer can.
Right.
And my parents, I think, so with long-term care insurance, with all of my parents' knowledge and all of the thought of planning, last year my dad became sick and it was surprising. It was sooner than we expected. The onset was very, very quick. So he's been diagnosed with long COVID. He had a couple of other things that exacerbated that situation. And so he was in the hospital repeatedly. He was really not in good shape. My parents at the time lived about 25 minutes from me in a 4,500 square foot home. And what happened was my mom became the caretaker and she was up and down the stairs with a bad knee, taking care of my dad. She was isolated, emotionally overwhelmed, lonely, scared. It was really overwhelming. And physically, it was very difficult for her. I found myself driving back and forth every day to Fairfax. And my sister and I luckily were able to come together and say, this just doesn't work for the long term. And we don't know how long my dad is going to be sick. And it could be a long time, it could be a short time, but let's make the plans now. I don't think my parents were ready at that point necessarily to give up all of their independence and their big house that my mom was so happy in. But she was exhausted and overwhelmed and emotionally just done. And she said, if you girls can take over, I'll cooperate. So we did get her at a little bit of a moment of weakness. My dad was in no place to argue. And we ripped the Band-Aid. We cleared out the house. It was a lot of work. My sister took a week off of work and came down and worked like a dog. She coordinated auctioning, donations, trash. We labeled everything in that house. We did it all. And we realized that they weren't ready to go into an independent, like an independent living facility.
Mhm.
that they really could live on their own just fine, but we needed to make it a just easier living environment. And so I went and I toured which was so much fun, all the really nice apartment buildings in Arlington within walking distance of my house. And that was so much fun. We found the perfect building. It's the closest one to my house. It has a silver diner, a Target in it, a dog park, a rooftop pool, a rooftop park, 24-hour concierge. It's just gorgeous. And we got them a two-bedroom. So we knew that if they needed space, if my dad's health was really bad and he needed his own bedroom, they could each have their own bathroom. And financially, we took that into consideration. Could we make that work? And we were in a great position that we could. And I know that's not feasible for everyone, but selling that house made a big difference for them. They were able to keep their house in Cape Cod, and they do go up there. They don't do the drive anymore. I drive the car and they fly up. But having my parents near me so that if there is a situation, I'm there very quickly. I took them to all those doctor's appointments when my dad could barely walk, a block down the street. Um, and I will say a year later, I can't believe it's just been a year, but they're happy. My dad's health is drastically improved. My mom's life is more enriched. And, I think she misses some of her friends from her old neighborhood, but she can go out and walk around. She's in sort of an urban environment. She can shop. She can talk to the concierge. She can be at my house in 30 seconds. So we see them a lot more. It's all been a lot better. But I will say there there was a little bit of for being such a well-informed family, there was a little bit of a reaction, "Oh my god, we have to do something right now." And they were lucky they got some say in it, but there was a lot that my sister and I orchestrated. And it makes me realize that at 47, I wanna be planning now if I get ill at 60, at 65, at 80, 85, whatever age it is, it doesn't have to be reactionary. I have a plan that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
And you can
And
only do that so much. I mean, I
no, I
get it.
know you can only control so much because I say the one thing you can count on in life, the only rule is expect to be surprised. So
Yes.
no matter what you think is going to happen, something else will happen. It may be better, but it may be worse. It's just not going to be the same thing.
Same as what you think. Well, yeah, like,
So,
who knows where my kids will live? Who knows what my support system will be?
and I am curious because I think as parents age and as people age, the fear element is such a predominant emotion,
Yes.
and it creates reluctance, it creates paralysis, it creates anger. To what extent did the fear of change enter into kind of the way you were managing your mom's kind of cooperativeness, if I can use that as a
I
question?
mean, when you think about this woman mentally was the most prepared you could be for this change, and this change upset her so much. The day we went to get the key for the apartment, she was sobbing. And she told the leasing agent, "I'm giving up the most beautiful home for this little shoebox. I can't believe this is my life." And I was like, "Oh shit, what have I done?" And then I'm like, "Nope, you're on the path. You're going down." I was like, "Mom, it's going to be great. Mom, change your attitude. It's going to be
Yep.
great." And she was really, really scared. It was a lot. And emotionally, those emotions are stronger than any practical knowledge you can have ahead of
Right.
time. A
Right.
week later, she came to me and she's like, "I'm so happy. I can't imagine not having done this. This is the best thing ever." Thank God. I mean, can you imagine if a week later she came back and said, "This is a nightmare. I want to go back to
No,
my
and she could
ex."
have.
Yeah.
And I think probably, like when your child is teed up, well, I'm too afraid to try this activity, or I tried it for the first time and I don't like it, or I don't want to go to school because I'm afraid. Like I think that we in that sandwich, and this kind of goes back to a parent, you want your child to be happy, you want your parent to be happy. I think it's really, really difficult to be able to see through the fear for the
Yeah.
best decision. And particularly when you still have parents who are financially independent, for the most part emotionally independent, they just may not be able to see the foreground as
Yeah.
clearly. Yeah, I don't, again, I haven't had to go through it yet, but I could empathize that you managing wanting to put your mother objectively in the safest place for her and your dad, but having to basically, navigate through the fact that there was both a reluctance there, and y'all were making this decision damn if you got it wrong. Like,
Oh,
it's not like
yeah, and I mean, she was really wonderful about saying, like, "I have given it to you all. Like, I trust my daughters."
Mhm.
I have to say, it's one of those moments where I was like, "I'm so glad I have my sister," because, obviously, I'm the oldest, I have a very domineering personality, I'm a leader. My sister is also a wonderful leader, but she's a thoughtful, calm mediator, and she is a person that also tries to make everything right for everyone. So she does think things through, whereas I barrel through. So that was very helpful to have her sort of say, "Okay, let's step back and think about this," or let's analyze why mom is feeling the way she is. I do think that one of the things that is difficult is I had another very close friend at the same time whose father has Parkinson's. He took a fall into the street while moving trash cans, had to go into the hospital, and was in rehab, and his parents insisted they only wanted to be in their home. And, I think one of the hard things when you basically refuse to make alternative plans for your children and you're very stubborn is that was a lot for him to navigate. And, my friend's a doctor, so he's the one that really had to weigh in on a lot of stuff. They didn't have a full bathroom, so his on the main floor, so his dad would not have been able to bathe, so they had to do construction in the home. Um, it took a real toll on him. I will say a year later, things are going well. I think, overall, his dad is maintaining a safe life at home, and his mom is able to navigate, and they have in-home help. And I think that Medicare is, kicked in to be able to help with that too. But it was very, very, very stressful, I think, for him at points, being like, if you were willing to go into some facility where I knew you could be helped, this would be much easier. So I think as we talk about ourselves aging, thinking through what is practical to put on our children and what isn't. What are we asking of them? And yes, I don't want to live 20 years in a crappy facility. I get it. I totally get that. That's why I need to make the plans now, think about the financial ramifications now, because I do get it. I mean, ultimately, my grandparents, when they didn't cooperate, we were going to put them in a wonderful independent living facility where they could have come and gone as they wanted, had their own apartment, it had a bar, it had activities, it was in the middle of Arlington where you could walk around, and then you could progress through your stages in that facility. Because they would not come when they could qualify for that facility, by the time they needed a facility, they could only go into something that was not quite a nursing home, but much more an assisted living facility. And, it was called Sunrise. And my grandfather came, he goes, "They should rename this place Sunset. This is where you go to die." So,
Mm.
which I will say 3 months later he did, he was
Yeah,
not happy there. It was
yeah,
he made sure my grandmother was somewhere safe and taken care of, and he was like, "Peace out. I'm done."
yeah. No, it's, I mean, the most traumatic, kind of experiences that I hear from adult friends is when, a parent of an adult gets sick and they don't know what to do, and children wanting to do something different than the parent, and, I think this is, like, where we as the adult children have to have the courage to and the patience, to just force both the conversation and force a plan to be in place, even if people change their minds, just broaching the topic, I think it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
And, that will also force what financial, consequences are, because 'cause I've seen that. I was actually in a entrepreneur group when I had the studio, and every month I met with a group of 4 other entrepreneurs.
I remember this woman.
Yes,
It was
so
fantastic.
yes, so I did this for years, and I will tell you, towards the end of this meeting together, every single month, we would go around the room, and everybody, so we were a group of 5, I think 5? Yeah, 5. Everybody in the room besides me had a dilemma about an aging parent. Um, an illness, a financial situation, a transition between where they were, where they needed to go, and it caused so much stress. amongst my peers, and they were, in my age range. But I will tell you, it is a transition in an adult child's life that we don't prepare for, that we don't know how to navigate. That you feel. I mean, I think it feels traumatic. Frankly, it can feel very, very traumatic. And your parent is also you're at a time when your parent is
Yeah.
growing in vulnerability, and that's also hard as an adult child.
Wasn't there a woman in that organization that ran a consulting business to
Yes,
help
yes,
people navigate putting their parents into a
yes.
plan of some kind for
She,
aging?
she actually came up with a product, and I will.
It's like a
I mean,
notebook.
it was actually like a to do a manual
Yes.
on what the timing and sequencing, what questions to ask, how to broach the subject. It was basically a workbook.
Yes, I remember it, and I remember thinking at the time, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm not dealing with that." And I've thought about her many times in the last few years, and I'm not maybe you can help me track it down, but, it's one of those things where, okay, so I got them into an apartment, but did they have any of their financial stuff worked out? No. So thank God my parents have spent this year meeting with a financial planner, meeting with the estate planner. They created a trust. They've done all of these things that I think make everything so much easier, for me in the long run. I still don't even know all the stuff that they had to do. They just keep telling me, like, we checked off another box. They said we did the
Yeah,
next thing. We're getting the next thing done. And I'm like, okay, good. Yay.
yeah.
But it seems like
Well,
it's a
denial is not a river in Egypt, friends.
no. And I'm glad they're not leaving me with, like, an estate that I'll have to, fight for a year or 2 to deal with. Um, but yeah, so I think all of that, I think there are quite a few consultants out there I have seen that will help. There's also a website called A Place for Mom, and you can go on that website and you can fill out information about what kind of facility you're looking for. So you can put in information about, like, your parents' health. Is it a couple? Is it a single? What kind of care? What kind of insurance do they have? What kind of financial resources do they have? And it's basically like a TurboTax. It'll spit out, like, these are facilities that would meet those requirements. Or, hey, you're not getting into, what you were hoping for because you don't have the resources. Here's some alternatives. And it sort of gives you an idea of what, and then you can do it geographically based. One of my biggest challenges is that I've said to my parents is that I just don't know if I want to stay in Arlington once the kids graduate from high school. And my parents have already put a deposit down on an independent living facility down the street. I think it's a great facility. My mom really is excited about it. My dad's like, yeah, I could wait longer. I'm not in a rush to get there. Um, but, if the reason they're picking here is because I'm here, I don't know that I will be here for 20 more years. And so that's a conversation that has caused a little bit of stress for my parents and for me. And yeah, and I think we have to remember that, I can't tell my kids that they're going to come and live where I live. I might have to follow them. So, we'll see. I keep telling them I'm going to go to Spain for at least 1 year of my life. I will be living in Spain.
Well, I'll tell you, like you say, you're not going to live in Arlington. I've already told my parents, y'all are coming to Spain with me.
Yeah. Yes, you're not moving back to Oklahoma.
No, and I'm not moving them here either. So, that is I don't think I've solved that yet, but and I have a brother who lives in Dallas. So I don't, I haven't actually conferred with him on any of this, but I am definitely laying the groundwork for my parents to come to Spain with me and I'm arguing, like the argument I make, and my mother knows this, is that you guys can walk everywhere to get fresh vegetables. You're going to have fresh air. Dad, you can swim in the ocean every day. It'll be a third of the cost. The healthcare is amazing. I'll be there to take care of you. Like, all the things that I hope will appeal to them, but they have lived in good old Ardmore, Oklahoma since 1976. So it's going to be
Yeah.
hard to, and my sister, who is, as the audience knows, and we've talked to, she died in 1991, and that's where her cemetery is. So having her, they want to be close, and
Yeah.
so I keep trying to make it as easy and appealing. I think my mother would, in fact, I said, I found a place where you live. I found this apartment. She's like, how much is it? So I think she
Okay,
had,
I have a question for you.
yeah.
are they accessible for people? Like, because, everything's old.
Right.
Like, how do you, I mean, actually, I have a really good question for you. I was at one of the shops on your street, and it's a German mother and daughter that run this shop. They're
Mhm.
both older.
Yep.
They have knee problems, all sorts of
Yep.
problems. They run the shop out of the first 2 floors of that house, and they live in it.
Yeah.
And they were saying going up and down those stairs is becoming
Yeah.
absolutely untenable, but they
No, I'd
don't
have
have
to
the time to
find
get a knee surgery.
yeah, no, and I'd have to absolutely find my parents a ground level place. That is for
Does
sure.
that exist?
Yeah, it definitely
It does,
exists.
okay.
It definitely exists. Not as easily to find, but it
Yeah.
definitely exists. And my dad, he hasn't really spent a lot of time there. My mother has, and she loves, 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 loves it. She loves it. So the other thing about, certain communities where and I think this makes a difference is that and I know in some of the assisted living facilities, like there's a social piece there. I don't know if that's good or bad. My grandmother lived in one. I don't
Yeah.
think it was great for her. But in like I can tell you there's a lot of folks in my little village in Spain who are older and who
Mhm.
speak English. And so it's not like they wouldn't have a peer group there. They would just have to meet people again, which would be tricky for any of us, by the way, for any of us. But yeah, I don't know how I'm going to solve that. I do
I
not know
think if they're not
how to solve
Spanish, they may have to go find the Germans and the Brits that are
it.
that are their age. Because I do think I did note, I mean, I think you're local, you're real local, you're local, right? And I think the Germans and the Brits kinda have their own
Yeah,
worlds.
it's really our we have so many close friends there, and they come from all over the world.
But you have a
And
native Spanish speaking husband. I think that makes a huge difference.
but my friends are not native Spanish speaking.
Oh, but I'm saying to
Yeah.
be accepted by the locals, I think
Oh,
that
right, 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 right. For sure, for sure. Like when you walk on the square, you see like the same group of 8 older men
yeah,
having vermouth at,
and they
9 in the
grew up
morning. Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. And the
Yeah,
same group of women like chatting and gossiping. That's not the group I would put them in,
yeah.
more the expat community. But
I love it. I mean, what happens with them taking advantage of medical care in Spain? Do they have to get a special visa?
so honestly, the private health insurance there is so inexpensive. It's like $300 a month.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, for full coverage. So it's very, very accessible and yeah.
I love it. Okay, if we're
Ah,
making some plans
ah.
here.
See, I know, saving all
See,
this
you're
money.
gonna move away, and I'm just gonna follow right behind you.
I hoping that's my story I'm
Do you
sticking to.
feel like a do you feel like a duck with a whole bunch of little
No.
ducklings behind you, or her like, "We're following you."
No, I will tell you, Christine, I have invited so many people to stay at my house,
Yeah.
and I would say, less than 10% have said yes.
I'll say yes for all of them. I'll just keep
Yes,
them.
in fact, I will tell you something. I've just decided I'm no longer inviting anybody else because I'm just gonna basically the people who I want, and now,
Yeah.
the open door policy is closed now.
No,
I
no.
invited you, you didn't say yes, your
You're
problem.
done. You're
Yeah,
done.
you're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done.
So, well, I think one of my things that I've wanted to do, and I haven't done this yet because I don't want when last year was really hard on my parents, I didn't want to add one more thing, but my dad would just start talking and I would just hit record on my phone and just record his stories. And, he's much more in reminiscing time period, which I love. But there's a thing, I think it's called Storyworth, and it sends them a weekly prompt and they
Oh my
answer it.
god.
Yeah.
What an amazing gift for them and for you and for
Yeah.
your children.
And it
Story
builds a
worth.
whole book of memories. So
Amazing.
I think we're gonna do that. But, anyway, just having them nearby, having them at events, seeing them many times a week is fantastic, and I feel very grateful. We will follow this up with another episode because there is so much more to dig into.
Yep.
I think we need to go find that woman and see if
Yep.
we can interview her and
Absolutely.
really understand more of the logistics of what you really need to know. But this scratches the surface a little bit of my experience so far. And hopefully, if you're going through it too, you're not alone. It's a lot. And for the parents out there that are planning ahead, good for you. Thank you. Well, thanks, Saphira. I think I'm off to go actually see my parents today.
Wonderful. And I know everybody listening is going to thank us later for broaching the subject.